we are back. So thank you guys so much for joining. I think our numbers have went up because it's the Brazilian connection. You guys have brought everyone in. So thank you, everybody in Brazil that has joined us for this conversation. Thank you, Andre. I know you're out there listening. I had to give you a shout out because you make magic happen, and we love you so much for your commitment to the Can Diversity Collective. I'm almost tearing up when I say that, but I hope you know that I love you and I value everything that you've done for us and as our ambassador in South America. So ladies, we are here, everyone. This is day 5. This is Friday. It's the last day of the Can Diversity Collective's Inkwell Beach. And we are so excited to have you guys here with us to have this great conversation. Normally we would be on the beach in the south of France, but I think it's okay that we're here now. And just, invitation, we want you to come for 2021 when we're in the south of France. We have an exciting conversation that you ladies are going to lead, and Dani, who is in the waiting room, is going to come in when I pop out to talk about the struggle of inclusion that we face in the U.S. as well as Brazil, and you guys are going to talk about that intersectionality. I cannot wait to hear. I know it's going to be a great conversation. I trust you as leaders of the next gen, and you're going to just lead us in the direction that helps us in a great forward-focused manner. So ladies, have a great session. Thank you, Raphaella, Lani, Kenia, Shannon, Dani. I will see you guys when we're ready to wrap up. Enjoy your session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So guys, welcome. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Lani Dourado. Yay, Dani's here. I live in LA.
You girls listen to me?
Everyone's listening to you.
Great.
Everybody can hear you now. I live in LA. It is 8 a.m. here. I run Papel y Caneta in the U.S. For those who do not know, Papel y Caneta is a nonprofit collective that brings agency leaders together with activists, other NGOs, kind of small, interesting businesses and other collectives together with young creators to produce projects using our skills as agency and creative people for good. It was dreamed up by Andrés Chaves, as Adrian mentioned. He lives in Aracaju, Brazil, which is in the northeast of Brazil. And he really just dreamed of an industry that was less competitive, more collaborative, that started from a place of empathy, that worked to create good. And so essentially what Papel y Caneta is an exercise in asking the industry to put their money where their mouth is. I mean, we've all seen little black squares everywhere. Everyone talks real good game, but this is about putting it into action. Quick blurb on me. I lived in Brazil for a few years. My husband's Brazilian. I actually didn't know what a huge ad market Brazil had until I came back here in the US and I pursued advertising. The US and Brazil are homes to huge ad markets, just testament to creativity, but also, unsurprisingly, huge African diasporic populations. Yet in the ad world, the ad world still is a place that holds on to systemic racism. It is about elitism. It's kind of a hard place to be. And it's only illustrated by the numbers. As a strategist, that's what I pay attention to. Brazil is a country where 54% of the population identifies as Black. However, only 70 out of every 1,000 people, employees in the agency world are Black. And in the US, 13% of the US population is Black, yet only 8.1% of the agency workforce is Black. So there are huge disparities in the numbers. Like, those are the numbers, it's the truth. So that's what we're going to talk about. Today, what we're doing is holding space for these 4 incredible women to share their experiences. These are women who have created incredible work, both just objectively in their careers, but then also have really created projects and used their voices to push the conversations about diversity and inclusion in Brazil and the US. So enough about me. Let's get started. We have an hour. So could we all go around, say our names, share a bit about ourselves, your background, yourselves, and maybe talk about a project that you've created to address the lack of diversity and inclusion, and also about representation. So let's start. Can we start with Rafa?
I knew you were gonna do that. All right. I'm super happy, super honored, and a little bit nervous to be here because I know that this is an important and urgent conversation. So, like, we know the responsibility of trying to say the urgent and important things that has to be said. But I'm Raphaella. I'm a communication professional here in Brazil. I've been in that industry for almost 18 years now, and I've always been in this place to be not or the only one, or like the few Black people in like the meeting rooms and the places that I've been in the corporate industry. And I created the first racial equality program here in Brazil, which led to us, which was a reference to the final signature of most of the agencies that they signed a pact with, like, how can I say, Ministério Público do Trabalho, like the work.
Public Ministry of Work. I don't know.
Work Ministry.
Labor.
Go, what do you say, Lani?
Maybe I think it's the Public Ministry of Labor.
Yeah, so like they signed this pact with this institution to compromise themselves to have more Black professionals on their workers' body for the next 10 years. And I was also part of the team of Papel e Caneta's team that developed My Best Flaw, which was launched in 2018, which questions our ad industry as well. And just to finalize, like, I'm the girl that some of my friends normally say that I'm the person who brings sweet environment to hard and difficult and uncomfortable conversations.
Yes, she is.
I'm not sure that I'll be able to do that because we just have 1 hour, and I think that we gotta go direct to the hard and uncomfortable conversation. So this is pretty much about me.
Kenia.
Okay, my turn. Hi, I'm Kenia Perez. I am a creative director and culture curator. First of all, thank you, Lani. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Adrian, for sharing this space with us.
She's frozen for me.
Oh no! Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. At least you can hear me. So thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. And like I said, I'm a creative director. I've been in the industry about 10 years now. And for 8 of those 10 years, I've known my partner, Shannon Ross, who's also here. And together, we have worked on a lot of things. But I think one of the proudest things that we've done for diversity and inclusion is creating a game called Not So FAQ. And the purpose of that game, it was a card game and a video series that we created at the last agency we worked in. And the purpose of it was to create a more inclusive environment where people can kind of talk, have real conversations, see each other as human beings, and ideally create a more inclusive environment at work. So that's it in short, but I'll let Shannon take it.
Hi, I'm Shannon, also creative director, culture curator. Kenia said it perfectly. We've been partners for 8 years, and so we've traveled together at different agencies. Now on Spotify, where we continue to push or work on projects that amplify Black people, Black music, and so we've been leading like Spotify's Black History is Happening Now campaign as well. Things that we feel really, really passionate about, giving voices to Black people, Black women, is really, really important. And
Dani, voila.
I'm back. You guys are listening to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So hi, everyone. I'm Danielle, but everyone calls me Dani. So Dani. So feel free to call me this way as well. I'm a public relations, and I'm, as everyone here, working in creative industry here in Brazil as well. I'd like to thank everyone here. You girls are like amazing. We have talked before, and we got a real connection. So I'm really happy that this match, happened. And I'd like to thank also André to invite me to this amazing and unique panel with you girls. And as Rafa, and I think everyone here, I'm a little bit nervous as well, but I'm sure this is going to be a very great experience. And I really hope that people and creative industry that are watching us right now really are going to be able to take all things we are saying here and really address this for the place they work and brands and agencies and whatever. So in 2016, I created Indique uma Preta, which is refer a Black woman in English. And the reason why I created this group is that because at that time, I was the only Black girl working in an agency. So I literally just created this group to refer a Black woman to a position that came up at that time, so I wouldn't be the only Black girl there anymore. So we can go dig and dive on this later, but here in Brazil, we have a very strong culture of referring people. And for many of you from USA, this could be a good thing, like a positive thing. But here in Brazil, it creates a vicious circle where there are only white men in ad agencies, and then guess who these white men refer to work with, right? So that's our problem here. Anyway, the group I created took a proportion I didn't expect it to. It became huge. A lot of Black women started to join the group and call other Black women to join the group. And then they were using that space and they were being empowered to use that group and share not only job opportunities, but also how they were feeling about their careers, their job, their challenges in life. And it's now a very safe space for Black women here in Brazil to share their experiences. So as time passed by, I called 2 friends to join me on this adventure, on this journey, who are Verônica Dudman and Amanda Abreu. Hi, girls. I know they are watching this right now, and also I'd like to thank them deeply and from the bottom of my heart, because without them, I wouldn't be here. So anyway, the good things now is that now we run together a diversity consultancy that helps and connects Black women to creative industry here in Brazil. And we do this in some sort of ways like mentorship programs, lectures, recruiting, speed dating, and a lot of other things.
Awesome. Ladies, I'm jumping around in the questions, but these are all questions we talk about just because, Dani, that's a really good segue. Talking about this sort of referral and getting other people and getting Black people into the industry. I also want to talk about the fact that, listen, like 95% of the Brazilian population does not speak English, and learning a language really is simply a privilege. It is a cost that is not afforded to many. However, many white and middle-class Brazilians have the luxury of fazendo cursinho or going abroad or doing exchanges. But if you're a Black person in Brazil, you're an aspiring creative, not only are you up against just like life, but you have hiring, growth, promotion, trying to get onto the projects that will get you to Cannes, and then learning English. There's just a lot of barriers, right? So just to start off, have any of you, so I mean for Rafa and Dani, have you ever worked with an American person in your career? And Shannon and Kenia, you as well, have you ever worked with a Brazilian person in the ad world? What was that experience like? And was that person or were those people Black?
Rafa, you want to start? Or Shannon, I don't know.
I was going to say, from an American, I haven't worked with any Black Brazilians at all. Only through conversation, like social conversations, but never through a professional standpoint.
Yeah, I want to say we have worked with and encountered Brazilian people in the ad industry across the agencies we've worked in, but they are always white, and it makes sense that they are the ones that are afforded an opportunity to travel, to learn English. Even myself, like as a Latinx person, in sometimes working on Latin projects and working with like the Latin department of a certain brand or the Latin board, it's always white people. And it's really sad. It's invisibilizing to be working with the people who come from where I'm from, and none of them look like me.
Mm.
Actually, I had some experience of having working being done with some Black professionals at the beginning of my career. Brazilian Black professionals, actually, they were in a leadership role in the first agency that I worked. But when you see the biggest agencies here in Brazil, which had the biggest package of money investment, and like the brands that they are putting the greatest amount of money inside of the agencies, then as soon as you get higher on the investment levels, normally you get lower on the plurality. Oh my God, this is gonna be fun today. The plural space that we have in among the professionals that work there. So like as soon as I get to the companies that were bigger or in among the 500 biggest companies here in Brazil, or the 50 biggest agencies here in Brazil, I was normally the only one, or at least the few part of the few group of Black people there. And for me, I think the worst thing about that is that it reminds me a sentence that even is about this project that is like the Inkwell Beach project, that I even took note, is that when inclusive creativity begins is where all brands win. This is like a sentence that got me, because this is not only the right thing to do, but it's actually the place where it is talking directly to business. Like when you have the opportunity to talk about talent, and you have to open yourself to understand the culture that we are immersed. Like you understand that we are in a place today that we don't have the best creativity space, because we are not talking to everybody. So this is for me the most important conversation that we have to have today, because if you're talking about a business that is all about creativity, like there is no way other than talking about these issues that we are discussing today, because like we can, if the creativity here in Brazil today is coming just from one group, because it is coming just from one group, we are not talking about the best creativity that we could possibly be done today.
Yeah, I'd like to reinforce the language barrier we have here. So yes, indeed, we as agencies used to work for brands and companies who are international. So the bad things that usually agencies here in Brazil expects everyone to speak good English and fluent English, So that's a huge barrier and gap, creative gap, anyway, to overcome when we talk about diversity. We are not able right now to talk about racial equity in Brazil or racial diversity in Brazil if the companies and the agencies are not ready to, not expect everyone to speak fluent English, So that's one barrier we have here. And then answering your question, I have worked in agencies with Black people, but I've never worked with a Black person in a high level position. Usually when I work with a person who are in a high level of hierarchy, usually this person is not from Brazil. If this person is Black, probably this person is an American or is from England. I don't know. That's another issue we have here. We don't have a lot of Black people in high levels of position, even knowing there are more than 54% of Black people in Brazil.
Interesting. Good. So what I'm hearing is like, regardless, I mean, there's clear this level of hierarchy and positioning. Language is obviously a barrier. And then the idea of representation and of just Blackness, both diasporically and not just one type of Blackness, is also an issue when it comes to representation. Moving on to that. So listen, people in Brazil love, like, Black culture is culture. Especially in Brazil, people love it. And the same goes in the US. And the ad agencies are the most guilty of trying to tap into Black culture, Black people, and just Blackness. But as Black women, when you see some work or an ad or anything that is either geared towards Black people or that has taken from Black culture, can you tell if a Black person was behind it or not? And how? Shannon, you're a little muted.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You can tell because of how shallow it is and how it only goes but so far. When a person of that color, when a Black person works on work for their own culture, you can feel the truth behind it. You can see, you can understand the nuances, and it's not about changing the way a copy is written to include slang, etc. That's not what it's about. It's the nuances of the culture that is so important that only the people of that culture will know, will understand, will get. And so when you see work that's done not by Black people, you can feel the shallowness in it. You can see that it's surface level, that it can only go but so far. And it's sad, honestly.
And that it's trying too hard too, right?
It's trying too hard. Exactly. Like it doesn't push past, like, this is what we've seen. This is what's on TV, etc. Like, we are multifaceted. And Rafa said it perfectly. We are not a single people. We are plural.
Yeah, and there is this thing here that we normally say that we are actually saying a lot here in Brazil, which is nothing can be done about us without us. Like, we cannot use like our story and background on the narrative if we're not in the position of deciding what this narrative will be.
Yes.
So like this is like every conversation that we have here today in this couple of minutes that we have goes back to the honest conversation that the ad industry has to have about what kind of ad industry they want to be in the future. And like you gotta be honest, and you gotta face direct to the problem that we are not there. At least here in Brazil, Black people are not in the ad industry, in the whole ecosystem. And like as Shannon and Kenia said in our previous conversation, just hire Black people.
Yes, and
like,
yes,
and
period.
Coming natural in the process of, because this is like, as we spoke, this is not about only giving the opportunity for Black people, but it's also permitting the fact that we are going to have this great moment of positive conflict. From the positive conflict, then from this place you get innovation, from this place you get creativity, from this place you get great things that our ad industry is totally hunting for, but they don't look to themselves, like they don't make the hard questions. They don't look at the corporation that they are building, and they keep reproducing mistakes by not facing the real problem and the sickest problem that we have here in our industry.
I agree. And it's interesting because in trying to do the work themselves, to do this cultural work themselves without hiring Black people, and in this whole new movement of wokeness, then the other thing they do is like overthink themselves into a circle and like, is it authentic? Are we gonna get, you know, trolled on Twitter? Like, how do we make it feel as authentic as possible? And there's so many conversations around how to do it right, how to do it wrong. It's simple. Just hire the people who are part of the culture that you're trying to speak about.
And when you
be authentic,
people, make sure that when you hire them, that they feel included, that they feel respected, that they feel.
That's the other thing.
Yes. Yeah, and
have a future. I think that's really important. Inclusion, like there's so many databases out there, illustrators, designers, like Kenia and I make sure any project that we work on, somebody of color, a Black person is on that. Somebody whose voices are not often seen are on there. But it's important that when you bring people on, when you hire them, that they feel like they're a part of the company, that they feel like they have a say in something, that they feel important, because otherwise you'll see so much turnaround, so many people, Black people leaving these places because they don't feel in their hearts that they're valued, that they aren't just a number, that they aren't tokenized, that they aren't, you know, like there just to fill a quota, just to do the Black project, just to do that one thing. Like it's so systemically, like it's a deep feeling as a Black person to go into a place, into an agency and be tokenized and to be used, but not even and to like be dissected for your knowledge of your own culture, but to not pay them.
Yeah.
Not treat them right, but use them not for the general work, but only for the Black work. It's not fair, it's not right, and that's not how you keep and sustain Black employees at your company.
Yeah, I really agree with this, and also hire Black people, but make sure those people are in creative areas, you know, because sometimes agencies hire Black people, and then these Black people are doing a very operational job. They are not really, you know, exploring their creativity, their intelligence, how smart they are, and everything, you know. So I agree with Shannon when she says that we can tell when a campaign do not have a Black person on the team, you know, Black people on the team, you know. And that happens a lot in Brazil as well, because here we have like 3 or 4 universities that very wealthy people can afford to attend. And the most well-known agencies in the country only and specifically hire people from those universities. So the outcome of this problem is that people who come from these universities come to our creative industry with a very low awareness background of what Brazil really is, you know. So, and also the outcome of this problem is that people develop creative campaigns and creative movies racist, you know. I mean, that's the perfect recipe to create a racist campaign, you know. So that's another issue we have here, and I believe it helps to reinforce the mindset we have, the white mindset we have, and the privileged mindset we have in our creative industry.
Yeah, and I think the important thing about this process of compromising yourself to make a strong program of hiring Black people, because nowadays in the generation that we have, right, and the structure that we have here in Brazil, you gotta make this choice. You gotta have this political choice of deciding about hiring Black people, because our structure is all built to silence and to keep these groups away from this hiring process. So this has to be a decision, a political decision, like a business decision. And also because like you start by this process, naturalizing our existence, like as your girl said, like our previous talk was super powerful. Like we have to talk about just our humanity, like the things that we do as an individual. So like this is the process of naturalizing the person and the individual that we are, and we are very different from each other, and like we consume products as everybody else. So like this process also brings the possibility of just naturalizing and pushing these mistake layers away, because as Kenia said, as soon as you just have a white space, from this specific place comes all the other mistakes. Like you start hiring groups or collectives to approve the work that was done by white people. So then when you're about to deliver this work, then you call some collective, or you get some consultancy to just say, oh, you gotta be okay with this work. Like it starts a lot of bad and like not like very bad mistakes that keeps us from doing what is right, not only from the business but for the existence and humanity of every single person.
Yeah, it kind of almost seems like there's not accountability inside a lot of agency walls. People are looking for either Black employees to solve the problem, or again, hiring outside sources to solve or validate versus just really looking inward. I had one more question really quickly, just because you guys sort of started to touch on it. You guys have all, it's very clear, you know who you are, what you think. And I know that arriving to that point is not easy. It can be painful, especially as a Black woman. It's a two-part question. Do you feel like you can show up to work as you are? Like, is there anything you wish you could do or say or express at work that you just don't feel safe or comfortable doing? And what are the risks associated for Black women in the agency world to come as they are?
There are many.
There are many. I think, like I have my
Let's break it down.
I have my theory. Like I 100% believe that you should come exactly as you are. And I 100% do not believe, I know that we all have to code switch, but I do not believe that you should, because I think if you code switch to be like everybody else, you're not doing that agency or whatever a justice.
Or yourself.
You're hired because of who you are, because of your perspective, because of your work, because you have a different point of view that is beneficial to your career. And I just feel like you should be who you are. On the flip side, being who you are in a place that is predominantly white can sometimes feel extremely daunting and feel lonely, to be honest. But I think, through it, like for your own self-care, for your own self, like 100% be who you are. Like do not care about what other people or the people around you think about you, your opinions, your life, your culture. Like that's you, that's all you. That's something that you have to live with every day. But being outspoken, like there comes like you have a fear, like, okay, if I speak up on this particular issue, what are the ramifications? Like, am I going to be railroaded? Am I going to be pushed out? Am I going to miss out on opportunities? Am I going to not like be given the right briefs, etc.? Like, it's a risk that we all fear. Like, we as Black women, we fear like people taking what we're saying, flipping it, people overanalyzing words and phrases that we use or choose to express ourselves. And it's not fair. Plain and simple. It's not fair and it's not right. And then even how we're judged, how we're perceived, how our work is critiqued in a different manner than our white counterparts, where it's not okay for us to put in 100 because they want to see 150. They want to see 200. We have to do 300 in order to be seen. You know what I'm saying? Like, while as other people can just, you know, kind of skate by. Like, it's okay to just be. But for us, one mistake in an email, one mistake in, you know, like in a presentation, and it's something that haunts us till we get home, to the next day, to the following day. Like, we can't just live. We can't be. We're not allowed to make mistakes. So I feel like the question is so, and I'll let the other girls answer because I feel like I was taking a long time. But
Go
ahead, Dani.
Yes, it's because I'm just going to reinforce what she already said. You know, because it's the same thing for me over here. You know, right now I'm under a lot of pressure because I am pretty sure that a lot of white people in Brazil came to this live, and I'm sure that they were wondering and asking themselves, let me watch this and see if Rafa and Dani are really ready for leading a virtual panel in English. I'm pretty sure there are people who came to this live and were thinking and wondering these kind of things, you know. And also the same thing that Shannon said is that I feel that people are measuring every little thing we do as Black women, you know, as Black girls. So when you make a statement, a very smart statement, a very technical statement, people and white men are like, is she bright? Are you sure of what are you saying? You know, so it's a lot of vulnerability. And in our place as Black women who are talking about racism in our industry, it's also very exhausting, you know, because I'm a Black person and I'm having to explain very simple diversity issues and racial issues to white people, you know. And what frustrates me is that those people don't really make an effort to understand and to listen to what I'm saying or to what the Black people who work with them are saying. You know, usually these people are white and usually these people are managers and leaders and everything. But while they are doing this, they love to promote themselves on social media by posting a Black square, by posting hashtag Black Lives Matter, by posting some artists that went on hype, like Jonga, Baco to the Blues, Emicida, you know, they love to promote themselves in social media, but nobody becomes an anti-racist by posting a Black square, you know, and no brand either. So it's just exhausting and frustrating to know that I'm on the backstage trying to convince those people to hire Black people, and they don't do anything to promote a real structural transformation. But I'm seeing them on social media saying to everyone, "Hi, I'm so anti-racist." You know, this is not how they promote real transformation, real structural transformation on our industry.
That's totally true. And by hearing Dani and Shannon, and thinking about the question you made, Lani, I think about two things. Right now, how we live in this structure that is placed for us is like for Black women, mainly here in Brazil. There is the sentence I heard a couple of weeks ago that is very, very true and very close to my heart, that our existence in these places are already resistance. I'm gonna find the name of the woman who said this. It's even an American activist, and then I share with you. Because like, if you really right now, because we don't have any change right now, like if you want to be a real and committed ally, just make the space for us just to be, because it is already hard enough just to exist in these places that we don't see our peers. Like we start a conversation from the assumption that we are less, that we know less, that like we can deliver less. So like we never have this assumption of the whiteness, that that they are good to go. So this is one thing that for now, if you want to be a really ally, just let us breathe in this space that is very hard just to be in. The other thing, I think, when I think about the question that you made, Lani, and when all the times that I'm feeling that I'm being super exposed, like right now, as Dani said, a lot of people are here not just to see the conversation, not just to understand the conversation, but just to see how our English is good, how we think strategically. So like they want to measure these things. So when I think when these times that we are being super exposed, like I turn the question for them, because like we are putting ourselves out there, because this is also an important conversation if we want to shape the right industry for the future, because different from the communication that we used to do 20 years ago, where we would produce a good, beautiful TVC with a very famous director, and we would like launch these on an open TV, and that was it. Like right now, all of our communication strategy is about, like, it's totally data driven. Like we know the person, we have this possibility of having a very direct conversation. So there is no way of having a direct and true and powerful conversation with a person if you don't know this person, if you don't know the country you live in, if the place that is producing this conversation is a place full with one single group. Like, so this is not about me. All the time that I feel that I'm being super exposed, this is totally not about me. It is the right thing to do, but is also the right thing to do for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is like, regardless of when you show up, there is a consequence, there is a risk, whether it is tokenized or whether it's a risk of like your career or your reputation. And there's something pretty sinister about that, actually, that like, you know, agency over how you are, how of your own image ends up being grappled with, and like people try to take that. So that's intense. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Kind of related, like, because we've been talking about, you know, everyone listen, galera do Brasil, escutam, man, like, come on, guys. Pacts were signed, letters were signed, you know, promises were made, both in, you know, here very recently, 600 signatures in Brazil in 2019, this open letter that was also signed. What are the like more because I know these are like big things, like get people in leader. I mean, it doesn't seem that big, but get people in leadership, you know, hiring. But on a day-to-day basis, what does accountability look like? Just on like regular old work day.
Is the real question, who is responsible for the accountability? Because, you know, it's too much for us. This is not our problem. We are just living our lives, you know? This is not our problem. I feel like agencies in the industry needs to take accountability for what they built and how they built it, based in both America and in Brazil. They built an industry where that reflects the society that they lived in, but it didn't change. It never changed. Society is still behind in the treatment of Black people. The industry as being responsible for changing society, because everything that we make, everything that we create, the world sees. We are putting those images and those visuals in the heads of the world to decide what they think about people, about products, etc. So if we as the industry take accountability for the wrong that we've created and building an image and continuing to build the image of Black people in a shallow viewpoint because they didn't hire the right people, they didn't do X, Y, Z. Like, what I actually want to put the question out to the industry. Like, what do they think they can do to remedy why I can't, or we don't feel safe in the workplace, or why we don't, we don't have the same opportunities? The accountability should be on the industry itself. I'm curious to see how they would respond to this very panel, how they will answer the questions that we've been answering today, how they can make change or steps to change to make it a better place for Black people to work, to get promoted, to be respected, to be redeemed, to be uplifted, to be free. I'm curious myself. I feel like the accountability, it can't be on us. And also from a self-care perspective, we got too much on our plate.
You got work to do, just like Kenia, I saw you, a little smile out. Did you want to ask that question?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Shannon says. I think it's work. It's not the performative action of releasing the statement and putting the box. It's daily work. And it's really just about, are they willing to do it or not? And that's how we, at the end of the day, like Shannon said, like, we have to protect ourselves. We will do as much as we can to protect ourselves and to protect our peers. But at the end of the day, it is on them. Yep. And there's not much else we can do about that.
That's fair. Dani.
Yeah, hire Black people on a daily basis. Refer Black people. Really, guys, here that's a thing here in our industry, So sometimes we, when agencies win a concorrencia, and then they have to fill up the teams like yesterday, and they're like, and they do not make a work or an effort to hire a Black person. They're like, okay, I have like 20 minutes to fill up this job opportunity that I have here, and it's much more easier for me to call my friend who were studying with me in SPM, USP, GV, and a lot of things. So on a daily basis, they have to develop structures that will be ready for to hire Black people when those job opportunities come up. What I'm saying? So yes, everything is very fast. Everything's for yesterday. Yes, I understand. You guys are not ready you guys do not have time to train a Black person to work like in a very high deliver, but you now have time to start to do that, and then tomorrow and next week you are going to be ready to do this. So hire Black people, train Black people, and most of important, promote Black people. That's what our industry should do on a daily basis.
Agree.
And there is this other thing by hearing Dani say is like, there is this sentence that I hate hearing when everybody says like, oh, in order to have Black professionals in this industry, gotta lower the bar. This kills me inside.
Yes.
A lot of people said
not about it.
This is not about it. It's like about changing the bar. It's like about changing the criteria. The criteria that we have today is sick. The criteria that we have today is elitistic. I don't know if this word exists.
It is elitist, yeah.
The criteria that we have today just privilege white men. Like the criteria that we have today doesn't privilege creativity. It privileges just a small group of people. So like it's not about lowering the bar. It's about changing the bar so we can have real talented people inside of the communication industry. And also, one other thing that is important, it's not only about hiring Black people, but changing the ecosystem. I think like there is this information that I already told you guys, and I'm gonna keep repeating myself forever. About like the codes, the symbols like that we have today. There is this study that was done by the Brazilian National Cinema that was made on 2016, and from all the film production that we had in that year, that we as a consumer saw on our home, like 90% were 80% was directed by white men, like 2% was led by Black men, and zero, not even 1% was directed by a Black woman. And I'm not saying this because I'm Black woman, but I'm saying this because like we are the most, we are like the biggest demographic group in Brazil. So like that, there are like 60 million people that consider themselves as Black women. So for me, it doesn't make sense this criteria that we have today in our industry that doesn't consider the biggest demographic group that we have in Brazil. So like today, for me, is all about changing the bar and changing the criteria.
Yeah, I just want to add real quick. I feel like there's no excuse now. The resources are out there. There are Black women who've been doing the work, Black people who have been doing the work. There is no excuse. So right now it's really about, are you committed to preserving this white supremacy that has already been built, or are you committed to doing the work to change it? Point blank, period.
Yep. Yeah. There's also been a lot of solutions. I mean,
yes.
Solution.
There you go.
Cost same thing.
Sorry, Lani. There is this thing that here in Brazil that like this difference between the US and Brazil. Like when we had the George Floyd case, everybody said here in Brazil that, oh, now everybody's doing something, they're thinking about something. But like we have a lot of people who said everything that has to be said about racism here in Brazil for a long time, like Abdias Nascimento, Lélia Gonzalez, Sueli Carneiro. Like we are here, like doing this, like the work is done. They did their job. Like just go there and study. So we are not here waiting for the US to do something so we can repeat. Like we already have the knowledge that is being silenced. That we have.
Yes.
So this is a very important thing that has to be said in this comparison.
Yes, and because their work is done, now it is right now, I mean, a really hot subject here in Brazil right now in our creative industry. So because their work is done, now people are asking, people, are fighting for real racial equity in agencies right now. And HR agencies are having to accept the fact that they have to hire Black people right now if they want to be competitive on our industry, So in a professional level, actually, I'm a little optimistic about it because they have to do this right now because that's the way they are going to be more competitive. This is what people are asking for, And as you girls just said, there are a lot of partners that they can call, and there are a lot of people who are really specialized on recruiting Black people, and they can call those partners and those consultancies to help them, right? And of course, pay those people for their talent.
Here in Brazil, call Dani, Preta, call
Empregue Afro,
call Duarte, Plano Feminino. So call these girls.
Luana Genot, IDBR, exactly. Call those people. They're there. They are studying for many years. They are ready for you guys to start to work with them.
I mean, it's ultimately what we're hearing is, listen, the work's been done. The language has been given to all of us who are non-Black. Like the language has been given to us. The concepts have been given to us. The actions, the steps to take, the resources have been given to us. It really is all at our hands. And not seizing this opportunity says more about us right now. And so, and I co-sign that. So I hope everyone who's listening is also realizing, like, it's work. I know when we had our conversation the other day, guys, we mentioned that, like, it's not like you take one anti-racism course and all of a sudden you're not racist anymore. This is life work. I mean, if people go to therapy on a weekly basis, think of it the same way. Like, it is constant work in progress. It's betterment and deconditioning, right? Like, it's deconditioning we do on our own personal level regarding other things. So this is part of it. And I think I just wanted to make that point. Do you think right now that there is an agency out there or a place of work out there that actually is inclusive and supportive of Black employees?
I think it's definitely possible that there are. I think, like, there's a lot of work to be done.
Is there anyone?
I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done for sure in order for a place to truly be inclusive. I think there are a lot of places now who are working on making it so, but I think we've got some work to do.
Yeah, I'm going to be controversial and say no. This place doesn't exist. I love it. And more than controversial, honest. I'm going to be honest, and I don't think this place exists. Like, yeah, there are people who are on different levels, and that doesn't take away from the fact that you've been doing the work. Like, yes, but we're still not there, and that's why we're still having these conversations. That's why we're still going through what we're going through. That's why I still don't know any other Black woman who's a creative director, and that's why we still ourselves are struggling to continue to grow in our careers. So I think hopefully we're on the way there.
Yeah, I think actually, I know that we are almost out of time, but I think that, like, the people and the companies that are closest to start doing the right job is the ones that are willing to make the hard and uncomfortable questions, to embrace the uncomfortable place that it is, and it will be uncomfortable to make like a change in such a sick structure. So I think that nowadays the only people and companies that I see that are about to make great improvement about themselves and about the company are the ones who are willing to embrace their racist mistakes and understand them and try to go to the people and to the consultancies that can, guide so they can improve and be better as a business or as a person.
Yeah, I just would like to add something here very quickly. I think that there are some agencies that have done their homework to include and hire Black people, but sometimes people face it as a solved problem, but problem actually is very far from solved. So I agree with Rafa, they have to ask themselves uncomfortable questions, They have to ask themselves, am I deconstructing my whiteness, my branquitude? Am I trying and willing and making an effort to deconstruct the white mindset I have on my agency? I agree with Rafa. They have to make uncomfortable questions if they want to really change something.
Ladies, this has been a very spirited, very highly postable. If you saw the comments, Brazil is representing very well. Your family, your friends, your colleagues, everyone that supports you are here for you right now in this post. And I'd just like to say, as the Global Director of Inclusion and Diversity, the first one at WPP, and Dani and Mutato, you're part of the WPP family. Yes. I want you to know that you have my support, whether I'm with WPP or not with WPP, as just another woman of color, another Black woman in this industry, to all of you. And I know every Black woman in this industry supports the work that you ladies are doing, and we will be encouraging for you. Call us anytime to make sure that you have all the support you need, and you are more than ready. Okay, so I want you all to know that you have what it takes. and you are the best of any of them. I want you to know it, believe it, and feel it in your heart, and you have backup. You know, we got your back, and we are here for you at any point, anytime. You have my phone, whatever you need, just so you know.
I need a hug right now.
Yes, a virtual hug, and we are here for you. So again, ladies, thank you so much. Shannon, I hate you had to drop so I could step in, or I would give you hugs and kisses too, but you guys have been such a powerful panel. Raphaella, Lani, I'm going to say Kenia, yes, and Dani, I'm here for you. I support you. You guys were amazing. Thank you for joining this session. We're going to have to say goodbye to you, but I hope the whole community, the whole tribe you brought with you stays for the rest of the day. We have so many more exciting panels to watch. We have one coming up at 12:15 on how to get ahead. Some very wise women who have been in this industry for a while and can tell you how to move and navigate through this industry will be up next. And then we have, you know, Gabrielle Union is coming, and then we have a conversation about D&I is in your DNA. If we talk about covering and we talk about, you know, bringing our full authentic selves to this space, and it, you know, things that we don't tell people that we deal with every day, but we're still able to be successful and thrive. So again, ladies, thank you so much for your participation. I love every one of you in my squares, and we support you again. So thank you for joining the session, and we hope to see you back soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.